Greetings, welcome. So I guess this is going to be Addendum Part 2, and I want to get away from this and go back to spinning rotors, but I kind of think I'm going to be doing a lot of addendums here. And what I don't know if I could be making a slow motion jackass of myself, but I've done plenty of that with free energy stuff. I mean, efficient motor, efficient stuff. So if we start off here, again, this, and this, they're not doing anything. You just have your bus lines here charging this cap up, and then this cap discharging the cap, and it's discharging it through a bifilar coil, which is the red strands of this coil here. And this is a 0.01 UF cap. What we'll do in a moment here is we have a bridge rectifier, as you can see right there, and that bridge rectifier is going out to like a 1 UF cap or whatever, just something to smooth it. And then we have a voltmeter hooked up to it, and then we have a load hooked up, and this load is 1 kilo ohm. Let me check that. Yes, it is 999.999 kilo ohms. It's 1 kilo ohm. This one is 10. I have accidentally hooked this up to there and thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But this is 1 kilo ohm. Now, why is that nice? And I mentioned this in the last video. We know per ohm, V equals IR. So therefore, I equals V divided by R. We know that this is 1,000 ohms, and we know that whatever voltage, when we measure the direct current voltage that shows up across that load, will be V. So you take V and you divide it by 1,000, and that gives you your amp draw, and because it's divided by 1,000, your amp draw in milliamps. And then this thing is often set on a milliamp scale as well, so you can compare milliamps to milliamps. So this whole time I'll leave the 1 kilo ohm load across the bridge rectifier with smoothing cap, and then it's where do you want to rectify? And in the last video I noticed that rectifying off of one of these strands to one of the strands of the secondary, the bifilar, led to some seemingly odd results. And what I'll say is I've thought about it even more, and I thought I had looked at it all the ways you could, but there's actually, okay, you can rectify off of here, which is the positive coming in where this is, and then you can rectify either off of here, which is the other strand of the coil, which is isolated from here except for the time that, boom, the switch shuts, or you can rectify off of there. So there's even more variability. So first we'll just look at it conventionally, rectifying off of here and here, and then we'll rectify off of one of the secondaries and one of these three and see what we get. Okay, so we're rectifying right across the cap right now, across the 1K ohm, and we're getting 6.88 volts out. And we got 7.14 milliamps. So that's 7.14 milliamps. This is 6.88 milliamps. Now, if I take this and move it to here, what do we see? I don't think I've done this. We see garbage. 160 millivolts. And again, 170, 180. So 170, 180 milliamps, 160 milliamps. So again, you're getting what you would expect, that you have a pretty high Q here where you're getting 80, 90%, far more than that, 95% back, but you're not going to get 7.14 and 14. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing is we can either leave this one and take this one and connect it to one or the other of the secondaries, or we can leave the other one and do the same thing. So for the moment, let's leave this one here, and we're going to connect this one to one or the other of the secondaries. Okay, I've connected it to this secondary, which is coming out there, the same as where that line is coming out, and 0.002 millivolts and 1.9, so nothing. Now if we connect it to the other one, okay, we're still at 0.17 milliamps, and this is at 276 millivolts, or 0.276 milliamps. So that was where we left off last time, and I was saying to myself, rut roll, and I'm still saying that because I don't understand it. Now the other thing we can do is if we switch this to here, other end of the cap, then no, that's not the one I wanted to not yet. All right, son of a gun. This is where I'm wondering if I going back to the slow motion jackass routine here. Doesn't make any sense. So we've moved one end to here, other end of the cap, and this one to here, and now we're up to 1 volt here and 0.5 there. So 0.5 milliamps and 1 milliamp. Now when I connect it to the other secondary, taking that off, putting this on, give me a second. Right back to the same thing. 1 volt and 0.5. That makes no sense. Now if I connect it out before the switch happened, 0.279 and 0.17. You recall that was just like where we were with the good orientation before, and if I connect it, we're back to essentially nothing, and if anything, that's gone up. So if you remember in the last video, and that's why I purposely didn't have the oscilloscope hooked up, was that there's no earth ground involved. Now when I introduce this is grounded through the oscilloscope, and we're putting it here, and there's no change. 0.51, 1.06. This is what we're seeing on the oscilloscope. And this is interesting because you start to wonder, I mean, that's that cap there. Like if we end it where it's down there, this should probably be like 0.6 or 0.7. If we end it up there, maybe like 0.4. I haven't really done this much yet, so let's do that. So right now it's got a delay of 200, so I've just set on time here equal to 200, and I'm going to replace that 200 with on time. It'll for loop through here 4,000 times, and then we're going to give it a delay of 1 second. And what we're going to be looking for is if we can see on here, as this changes, does this change? And if we can also grab it as well, I mean, I might have to do it 2 times. Is this changing as well? And perhaps not in a way that's not beneficial. That's so 0.51 there, 0.49, I'm sorry, 0.46. Yeah, and what you see is this guy climbing up here. We're down to 0.44. Yeah, 0.4. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. Now he's going down the other way. This has been at 1.08 pretty much the whole time. I mean, there's some variability. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I mean, for some reason, this is at 0.79 and this is at like 1.4. I can't see on the oscilloscope exactly what's going on. But, all right, I just set it back to where it was. And I'll spend some time with it. But the idea is, you know, here your cap is discharging and ringing. And could you like grab it there and use 1/10 of the amperage to get it back to 10 volts? Whatever's going on, I don't seem to be seeing the whole thing. It's neither here nor there. This is fine right now. But that's something to be looked at further. But there's a second interesting thing there that's probably even more interesting. So again, 0.5 and 1 volt through the 1K ohm. Well, it's not all that dramatic, but this cap is less than 1/2 the capacitance of the other. We're still drawing 0.048 instead of 0.05 or 0.051, and we're getting out a slightly bit more here, 1.04. Yeah, that's the waveform there. And of course, this ground doesn't affect it, which is nice. What next? What next? Okay, I always find this one fun, and it should be a crowd pleaser. So now we've gotten rid of the cap, and all we're doing is charging up the capacitance here, here, and here, which each are about 5 nanofarads, and whatever the capacitance is in the coil. And for some reason, we're still drawing 0.36. If I unload it, let's see what happens if I unload it on a couple fronts. It's pretty much unmeasurable, and that goes to about 5. With it loaded, this is going to 0.37, and this is at nearly a volt again. So don't need a whole hell of a lot of capacitance. I can't remember if I showed this before. So okay, that looks even better. So I put the 0.01 UF cap back. We're back to 0.5 and 1 volt there. And this was going up to like 25. Yeah. So we're up to 25, even a little bit higher. I mean, it's got a 1 second delay there. So 25, 26 volts. So that is one difference as opposed to if this is no longer there, where you're still getting something 0.84 and 0.26, 0.32. Fun. So as I said here, the kind of scary thing is the simplicity of it. I mean, you just charge up a cap and discharge it across this coil, and then you rectify across one end here, and then the proper strand of your bifilar, and you get this finding, and then you find out you don't even need the cap. But now let's find out whether this is, I hope not, like some kind of magical coil. And what I'm gonna do is put this, which is also bifilar, but it's single strand as opposed to, single layer, as opposed to this is about 10 layers. I haven't done this before, and find out whether we see the same thing. Okay, so we got this 1 layer coil hooked up the same way with the rectification and the 1K ohm, and that's what we're seeing. So it wasn't like the first coil was some like Swedish stone, 1 in a million kind of coil. It's doing the exact same thing, even a little better. I would bet a nickel, maybe even a dime, if we take this one out and go with a 0.004 UF, it'll do even a little bit better. It's going to depend a bit on the timing, but this thing will handle higher frequencies a little better. Yeah, baby. So now we see this 0.717, this is down to 0.28. So instead of double, this is like 2.5 times the amperage out. Now we're just discharging the capacitance of the switches in this, and 0.2 and 0.612, so 3-fold. That's kind of nice. Yeah, that's your Q factor going on. Okay, we just want to back up for a moment here. Hold everything. So, I mean, let's say that this is all valid, and let's say we're back to 1 volt instead of 0.612 millivolts. And so 1 volt across here with the resistors, 1 milliamp at 1 volt is 1 milliwatt. So we're talking about 1 milliwatt of power versus like 0.004 milliwatts of power, if this happens to be correct. So the obvious thing to do would be to take, like a buck boost, and take this 10 volts up to, like 100 volts or something like that. But, you just don't get it, Scotty. You just don't get it. I mean, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in a voltage doubler. And, I mean, one thing that does do for me is it allows me to keep track of things very, very much more precisely, because I'm not going to go into it, but with the voltage doubler, I'm not going to go into it. Wait a minute. With the voltage doubler, you can keep track of things precisely. With a buck boost, taking this from 10 to, say, 100 or 500 volts, it's going to be a little bit more random. And I just want to look at it as precisely as I can. Not just talking off the, top of my head here. If, we were at 1 milliwatt before at 10 volts, if we brought it up to 1,000, we would be at 100 milliamps times 100, which would be 10 watts. So 1,000 volts, you'd be at 10 watts. At 10,000 volts, you would be at a kilowatt. So I think, the first thing to do is, again, just to put in a voltage doubler and see if you still get this. And if so, then think about going to higher voltage, which, I don't like to do on the desktop, but this is a reason to consider doing it. The very last thing I'll say. So, what I was getting at is, if you put a spark gap across there and went up to 10,000 volts, if perchance this happens to be something that's not me making a jackass myself, then you get something usable out of it, more than like charging a cell phone in 3 days. But there was a comment someone made, and I can't remember everything he was saying, but I remember at the end he was saying, and what is the turns ratio? And I think he put an exclamation point. And I was thinking, turns ratio is 1 to 1. This guy's really excited about turns ratio. That's interesting. And, I went to sleep, and then I woke up the next morning. It was like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. He might be on to something. So in other words, if this was 1 turn and you had 5 turns here, then you might get the same thing, that this will go up 5-fold and this will go up 5-fold. In which case, you don't need the 10,000 volt input. So, that I think is a good place to leave it. Suffice it to say, I'm going to be working on this in the background. And if you don't hear anything ever again about it, it probably means it really worked well. Just kidding. It's like the people, I found God. It's like, if I find God, you think I'm going to tell you? Sorry. So, I found the source of all power. Then they're like, oh, there's a $20 bill there. You can put that in the collection. Sorry. That shouldn't be like that. But you understand what I'm saying. I hope. Maybe not. So we're going to move on to a lot of other stuff now. And I'm going to do like some general interest, I hope, videos. And we're going to go back to spinning rotors, because I think I have some ideas on what to do with that. And I'm going to be working on this in the background. And if I see stuff interesting, I will try to put it out in as nondescript a manner as possible, if it happens to still be interesting. Thank you. Thanks for coming along. And I think the best I got now is stay healthy. And happy Easter, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.